when we had that talk last time, are we going to allow them or not? And we chose to, but then the people that don't come, you know, it kind of gives them the advantage for sure.
Yeah. And if they choose not to, then
What if
that's.
they're
You
working?
can suggest it,
Yeah.
yeah.
What if they're working?
I cannot believe that there's anybody that applies for a grant that doesn't have somebody that's informed that could come.
Okay.
And that
And-
Encourage at least.
Encourage,
Yeah.
but I'm nervous about us asking people who choose to attend, but we,
questions, yeah.
so they have to make the decision not to attend, as opposed to us making the decision to ask questions of those who are. There's a difference. And if they're not able to attend, Andrea, then I think we should probably put something into the policy that they need to advise us that they are not able to attend, so that at least it's tabled that they paid attention to that.
Yes.
I think the other thing that's important though is, from what I heard before this committee was here, people would go to the council and then they'd make their appeal
Lobby.
and lobby. And that's not something we're asking for here. We're only asking for people to come for clarification.
Yeah, and I think that that has to be very specific,
Yes.
because it's so easy to go down there. I would love to know why gymnastics club spends $5,000 on ferry travel annually. That has absolutely no relevance to what we're doing. So I think we need to have very clearly, if we're going to put that in the policy, that it is for specific, to address specific questions related to the application.
Yeah.
It has to
No, I'm just tabling it for discussion. It's something that's made me nervous.
Yeah, it does, I agree, it's useful to have people to clarify, but it also, we have to either say yay or nay, and,
Yeah,
So
we-
you don't think we should have asked for clarification today?
No,
it's, that was a,
I actually agree with you,
It's
Jane, on this
slippery.
one. I don't think we should have.
yeah,
Interesting.
because.
Well, we've gone back and forth in this, and we said, well, we should have an application that's thorough enough, and they've got the opportunity, and Michelle's always going back to them and saying, you know, you gotta have this information in, and if they don't have it in, we've said, no, we're not gonna go for clarification, because it should be in your application. So it's a totally different way of looking at things.
Because it's always good to add more things to Shell's list. Do we need to?
Yeah,
No, but I'm wondering, as, you know, I've seen in the past, do we need a little process during our week of review where we can submit questions of clarification? And they need to be ready that week to offer them very quickly in written form, and we get our clarification that way.
we could say encourage somebody to be in attendance.
Andrea, what were you going to say?
I just really agree with that approach.
So we're all
We
reviewing,
we read beforehand if we have questions that could then be submitted.
Four of us say, hey, what's the deal with the volunteer chef?
But should we meet as a group and to compile those questions? Because we don't want Shell getting 50, questions from 10 different people. That would be crazy
The
making.
email would have to be to the whole committee.
Of
And
course.
Shale would only answer to the whole committee. It would not be individual. And
So I would be receiving these questions that the committee would like further clarification on of the various organizations. Then I would compile the list. I would send out the email questions to the organization. Then they would come to the meeting and speak.
No, they would submit them before the meeting.
So that's going to delay
I know.
everything by at least.
That would be a
4
big,
weeks.
yeah,
I
I don't think so with reflection.
I think we need to state in our policy, we either ask for clarification or we will not ask
Yeah.
for clarification.
exactly.
Period.
They shouldn't read anything
So
into it either way.
Yeah.
Does it need to be in the policy though, or like with the multi-year core funding, as part of the agenda, every organization was slotted for 5 minutes? And so at the COW, it was more that they were presenting their application, but for this, could it not be you will be present so that the committee could ask
Oh,
questions?
the 5 minutes to ask questions.
Yes.
You know, I'm actually wondering whether we need to do this. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable about opening it up again. I think in the past it's worked quite well. If we don't have the information, then we base our decision
Those are-
on the information we have.
Yeah.
And I just, I think that
Unless-
I would feel
yeah.
more comfortable in us keeping our discussion around the table as opposed to starting to, because I think about the problems that it gets in terms of people starting to lobby, starting to, almost grandstand, I guess, that, so, but I think we need to make a decision. Do we ask people who
Yeah.
intended to speak or not? And
But you have to remember that if you don't ask them the specific question that you have, like, you know, I don't know what an example would be, but if you don't ask them that in the application, then they can't be responsible for answering it unless they're here to answer
Yeah,
it,
but
which is a whole different thing.
But on the other hand, we make a decision based on that information, the lack of information we have, and it's,
I think the little knot that some of us are expressing is, what if there's just some missing piece, or, you know, one thing that would help us resolve the issue we're talking about? It seems a shame not to be able to just sort that out somehow. And I completely take your point. We don't necessarily want to open it up in the room, but how do we?
I'm wondering if we could, sorry, Michelle, I'm just wondering if we could try in the next round, communicating through Shale. This is a question that's really bothering me, you know, the one about the chef.
But how big a deal was that? Like, I look at Shale's time and I
Yeah.
think, really?
Yeah, I know.
Like, do we really want to do that? Our staff is just
Yeah.
stretched beyond belief.
No, I agree.
So either we don't ask the question and we say, and we've done this in the past, we say, I would have liked to have known this. It's unfortunate I don't. It makes a difference to me. So for future, everybody in the room, make sure, you don't raise a question by information you've given, or, whatever. We've done that, and maybe that's all we can do. I don't know.
The other thing, Shale,
Sorry, Shale,
So when I respond back to the applicants of whether they've been successful or not, or whatever the decision is, I usually give a little summary of what the discussion is, and I always encourage them to go and watch the video, which I guess there won't be a video today, but maybe there is. I
It'll
don't
just
know.
take me a few hours to convert it back up.
So to hear that, but I tried to pick some of the high points about some of the questions that the committee had. And so hopefully, the next time they are applying, they're remembering that feedback and incorporating it into their application. My inclination is to not have the discussion during the meetings, and I think I would also
Oh, okay,
prefer
so-
to not be handling multiple questions.
yeah, I agree.
If it's just a point of, I noticed that their application form is different than the other one, please tell me, and I will follow up on that kind of thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
That's-
we're not
that's
gonna be
what I was
dealing with
thinking.
the core funding anymore.
No.
That's a done deal.
Yeah.
So the big grants are now gone.
Yeah.
So is there a limit to what organizations can apply for? Because I think
No.
that when we're dealing with big bucks, it's a really different story than when we're dealing with smaller amounts. But there's no limit. Because I'm looking at most of the grants that we awarded last year, except for one, are 10,000 or under.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if we want to kind of think about the community grants having a limit, which makes it not so crucial to sort of the operational kind of feeling, because we know we have a core grant process.
That's right, we could do that now, where we couldn't do it before.
So there's so
Like
that
an
there's some limits
opportunity,
to
yeah.
what people can apply for, and you're
A
just working within those.
$2,000 or a
Like 10,000 or
10,000.
12,000, but.
Well, I guess we'll have to take a look at what the funding is. If we take BIAC and the Museum and Archives off. and-
it's not a lot of money left there.
Yeah, so, and I think as you say, that
School
normally
district,
it's
45.
$10,000 that we allocate for it. And that could be, I don't think it's in our policy, is it?
The Carrying circle got 15.
It's not in the policy, but, and I don't know if this is just the philosophy that has been carried forward, but my understanding is well, on our webpage, I think it also says that the grants in aid are typically up to amounts $2,000.
Right.
Correct.
And community grants are typically up to $10,000.
Yeah.
Oh, is it actually
I
says
think it
that?
says
that.
that, yeah.
That works.
So
Typically, yeah.
when I was looking through some of the core funding applications and then looking out at other municipalities, there are lots of ways that other municipalities do grants. Lots of them have just grants and aid for $2,000 or up to
Projects,
$2,000, yeah. Lots of organizations have multi-year grants that are kind of ranging between $5,000 to $15,000. And then there's core funding for the bigger amounts. So I also feel that perhaps council in the resolution that they made, in which they said council agreed to review the multi-year core funding policy criteria prior to the application intake for 2018, that may mean that things are changed again, which would only be for, I guess, 2019 and beyond.
Mhm, yeah.
Okay, so is everyone comfortable staying for another 20 minutes or so?
Sure.
Just so we can wind up? I realized that we were supposed to adjourn already. So what we've got then, if I can just summarize the discussion so far, is there agreement that in the future we will not invite the applicants to speak to their application?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everyone
Yeah.
comfortable
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I'm wondering, does that need to go in anywhere? In terms of perhaps process for decision making? We will review the applications, maybe there we could, if we see the process for review, we could say that applicants are invited to attend to observe, but will not be asked to speak to their application.
I think it's probably worth mentioning that in the application form too,
Right.
right? This is it.
Yeah, and then you're not gonna be able to talk.
So, but you did invite them to, as part of the, at the very beginning,
Yeah.
would that also not take place then? The public,
I don't know, that's part of the community charter, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to be there.
what's that? It has to be there, so if they're gonna speak, that's when they would speak?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
Okay, so
You
everyone's
have to,
happy.
yeah, you have to let them speak.
Okay, so everyone's comfortable in that, all right? In terms of questions and elaboration on what comes out from the application form, if we've got questions, so be it. We will we will approve based on the information that the application provides, is that? So we're not going to inundate Shale.
Yeah, yeah.
No, we're not.
Thank you.
And and Andrea and Shale are gonna be talking about the application form, okay?
Before I leave the building,
Before you,
commitment.
and as we move forward with the financials, we'll continue to tweak that. Okay?
And if we have any questions that we wish they had done, addressed, that's where Shale puts it in her letter.
Right.
And in the process number 8, it does say the committee may send a letter offering unsuccessful applicants direct feedback on how to improve their applications for
Right.
future.
And you've done a great job.
Yes, you've done that, you've done very, very. Okay, the only other part of this was, so we dealt with the application form policy report. What is the report?
Their report on how they spent
Oh, the
funds.
report.
Oh, the final report.
We did receive some reports back. I thought the reports actually were in the binder. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that they weren't in there. The one that is still outstanding, which I guess is not indicated here, is the Bowen Heritage extension on their grant.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So I wouldn't mind a little bit of feedback on what I should do to proceed with that. This was a grant that they had originally received, I believe it was $4,000. They weren't able to spend the money on what that project was for. They asked for it to be reallocated towards plants, I think, for the cottages. Yeah. And they were waiting for a report back from Metro, and they thought they would have all the information by September 30th. We asked them to report back by September 30th.
I'd probably just ask them for an update.
Okay.
I would say.
So what are they doing there? They're doing something with the cottages. Is that, maybe, I'm trying to remember.
So you didn't get an update at the end of September?
No, but that could be because of Metro too.
I thought it was.
The student mind project.
Sounds like they've spent the money, which is positive.
There was 2 grants, they did have 2 grants.
That's
So one was going to be spent on the student, and another one was for native plants.
Right.
And it was the planting that was the one that was delayed.
Okay, I think an update.
Okay.
And, but do we want to set a time limit on when you get that update and ask them when they will be finalizing the project?
Another time.
Exactly.
That's right.
Another,
So, in our application form, in the event that the funds are not used or the project or program as described in the application, the full amount of the financial assistance may be payable back to the municipality.
Correct, yeah.
Are we not asking for that at this point?
I think you get an
Extension?
update, I think get an update first, and then
Okay.
see what the, because if they're dealing with Metro, Metro just doesn't work very quickly.
Okay.
so if in future, I think attaching any final reports you get would be useful for the committee. And as I said, and I don't know, maybe it's just my little niggly thing, but just having a 1-word or a 2-word summary of what we funded the grants for previously, just would help twig the memory.
I think we used to do that, and then I was
Yeah,
getting,
just a
it
bullet.
was getting difficult to sometimes make
Yeah,
them concise.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Okay? Any further comments about the process? Everyone comfortable and happy how it's moving forward?
It's a moving
And
target.
I'm assuming that the committee, or the, what are you on, council
Mhm.
is happy
Yeah.
with what the committee is doing?
That's his main
The
thing.
last record, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think the reason it came back just on that, on the court grants thing is just to run it by the group here and just see if everybody was happy, so we can report on that, if anybody likes that direction.
And we've got a couple of information items on in our package. Just one, now I'm not certain, Joyce informed me that this might be our final meeting, and I defer to her quite frequently, so some of us might be meeting in the spring, but some of us might not be. It's, I can't remember. Do you remember
Joyce is
that?
looking like a
It's been-
Cheshire
well,
cat
originally, we
over there.
pulled
straws, remember?
That's right. I guess
That's
that's
right.
changed, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't remember where that went. Originally, we were said, oh, come and sit on this committee. It's only about 6 months, wasn't that what Kristen said when we first? Anyway, it's been, it's an excellent committee, and I think we're doing a really good work. But I also wanted to say farewell to Andrea Little. You know, I know you were only here a couple of meetings,
I was.
you have contributed so much to the community.
Yeah.
And really.
It's a great committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's.
Yeah.
But I wish you luck, you and Jack luck, and
Thank
you.
yeah, enjoy your stay. Where are you living? Newcastle or
You at Yaletown.
Yaletown?
That's quite a conversion.
I was good.
And Hornby.
Yeah.
And Hornby.
So all the best.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
You've done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So for the next, you and you and you and you will not be here.
That's my
Are you
understanding.
staying on?
I don't, to tell you the truth, I don't know what's happening
to
where.
I am checking, and I'm telling you this is,
So we're gone.
yeah, but
Oh,
we
oh,
can
no.
always tweak that from my record show. And I am happy to do the tweaking.
Jane's singing too?
Mhm, all 3 of us.
We signed on for 1 year,
Yeah.
but I'm
And we've got
happy.
new
So
excellent
how long,
people.
we're on here for 2 years? Is that the deal?
Well, you were, I think we signed
We've
up
been
for
like
December
3
12th.
Yeah, lifers, got some lifers here, yeah.
I think it is a 2-year term.
Oh.
Has it only been 2 years?
No,
No, you cheated. You cheated and did 1 term.
So do you have
For
to
1
leave,
year.
or are you choosing
I
to
think it's
leave?
3
I don't
years.
understand.
I have no idea what the municipal policy is. We're,
Well, you can
Well, we
definitely
have to
stay on.
reapply.
Jane, stay.
we have to be reapplied.
Stay.
Stay.
Yeah.
Using Joyce for God's sake.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
Oh, come
No,
on.
anyway,
That's
we can,
serious.
I loved it, but I think it's, this discussion has been really excellent, knowing that,
It's been a good little baby, eh?
yeah,
Yeah.
it
It
just,
is.
it's moving on and it needs fresh eyes. I mean,
Yeah, true that.
the applicants don't need stale eyes looking at their applications,
Oh.
you know?
So beautiful eyes. Especially when they are blue.
Actually, there was, I don't know, there seemed to be an email that went out. Regardless, as I say, it's an excellent committee, and I know Andrea and Catherine will do a marvelous job supporting the staff and the council members. So,
No pressure.
Well, it's because we've been on for 3 years.
Oh, you're off as well?
No, it's not. It's, the 3-year term ended last year.
Yeah.
And then
We're at 4
or
years.
whatever.
You went on for another year for a transition, yeah?
So then you did one transitional year to work these guys in. But I think you were I have the email thread, you were all a little undecided.
exactly.
And so I know Joyce has made a very firm decision, but if there's any little indecision, we can always just
People,
keep
please.
going on. It's perfectly fine.
We have got it to a place where it's,
Yeah.
It's actually, I think
It's not that
it's,
bad.
that baby is up and running.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
So I think-
toddler, is that what you're saying?
Toddler.
No, I think it's probably
3-year-old.
at least kindergarten.
Especially with the core grant
Yes.
issue
Yeah,
Yeah.
off the plate
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
the deferred taxes thing,
Yeah.
or whatever it's called.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we handled that, too.
Those are
That's
done.
right.
Yeah.
It was, we did do a lot to help the municipality move
Goodness,
forward on there.
Well, that first year of meetings,
Oh, yeah, brutal.
it seemed like every month we were having one.
Actually, when did the committee start? I'm just
I
curious,
don't
because
know.
Tim was the initial, Tim
Yeah.
Rhodes was the
Yeah.
initial.
Yeah, actually, so it was the previous council
Yeah.
that started with it.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think it started in the beginning of 2013.
Beginning of time.
I've got May 23rd, 2013.
But you do, I mean, we
Ooh,
do.
we got a lot of meetings between
Another-
May and
Oh, yeah.
We do need another person, I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
It
definitely.
looks like you need 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, we only had 3.
Okay.
How many are we allowed?
No, we had 4, because you were on the
Yeah,
council.
you were
on the
it was
committee.
Donna.
I was on the
Joyce,
committee,
and
yeah,
Tim,
council side.
Tim was the
So
council
2
rep.
more would be great.
Well, it'd be nice to be close to the terms of reference, which is 6.
Six.
Yeah, 5 from the community plus council.
What the heck?
We need a medic
Yeah,
over
6
here.
Easing into this.
How do you like us so far?
I'm sorry. Anyway, before, we should actually adjourn the meeting. Thank you all very much for all the time and the commitment, and to staff.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, we
Yes.
really appreciate the work, especially Shale, that you do to put together these packages.
It's a whole team environment, so thank you.
People that do all the work always say that.
As a
That's right,
practical matter,
exactly.
so once Shayla and I come up with a gorgeous, brilliant new revision, do you all want to see it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Where they're done, they're out of here.
Yeah. If you don't get your comments, then you have to have another 4-year term. Okay, so a 3-year term.
However, I
You make that
I
part
was
of the policy.
planning on attending the next meeting so I could heckle.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
she's actually finding, she's putting an application form in.
Sorry, no comments from the
Oh,
peanut
yeah.
gallery. We've already decided that.
I guess on behalf of the municipality, I would like to thank you guys if you decide not to come on board for another session. It's been a marvelous ride. It's been fantastic. Amazing amount of work that's been done, and everybody said it's one of the finest committees going. And so that's thanks to your dedication and a lot of hard work and your love of the community, because that's what it all said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Here, here.
Thank you, everybody.
Andrea is still shocked.
Okay, okay.